Have you ever been incorrectly judged by someone who got you completely wrong? And I know this can often happen, and it might not seem important, but it can have devastating effects on our mental, emotional, and even our physical health. And I'll give you an example. When I was 7 years old, I was playing on our family farm when I fell from a height and landed on the back of my head on concrete. The fall had left me unable to stand or walk by myself or to see properly. I was rushed to hospital, where their assessment was that I was fine, and they sent me home. And even though I was vomiting repeatedly, they reluctantly readmitted me, saying that I was a spoilt child with fussy parents, that I was just looking for attention, and that I was pretending to have these symptoms. And after 8 days of lying like a dishcloth, as my grandmother described me in a bed there, they diagnosed me with depression at age 7 after head trauma. And everyone who knew me could see that they were wrong. And my Aunt Margaret, who was a nurse, was visiting when she discovered that I had double vision. Now, when she alerted the medical team, they took it seriously. And it was so serious at this point that they couldn't even wait for an ambulance, as I needed to be moved to another hospital that specialised in brain surgery immediately. And my dad's boss, Ignatius, drove Margaret and me on that 2-hour trip at top speed in his brand new car. I couldn't sit up straight, and I remember lying on the back seat with my head in Margaret's lap. The pain was unbearable, and I felt terrible because I had just vomited all over Ignatius's brand new car. I was scanned immediately upon arrival, and they detected a bleed on the brain. They performed emergency surgery at 2 a.m., giving me very low odds of survival at this point. But thankfully, the surgery was a success. And over the next few months, I went on to have a full recovery. But to this day, I've wondered, how often do we judge other people and ourselves incorrectly? Even when we're told clear, undeniable facts, how do we still get it wrong? Just like my situation in the hospital, we've grown used to judging people from what we see on the outside. And I believe we turn that distorted lens on ourselves. For most of my life, I had a fear of judgment, and I followed the societal template for success. I went to college, got a good job, got married, got a house, and had 2 beautiful children. And from the outside, it seemed like I had it all. And I was so grateful for everything, but deep inside, something just didn't feel right. I knew that I was in the wrong career and in the wrong marriage. I was stressed and stuck and overwhelmed, hiding all of this. And I hid it all behind a smile because I believed that I was doing the right thing for my family. I felt like a bird in a beautiful golden cage, and the bird is really well looked after. But she longs to fly in the sky and be what a bird is meant to be. And nobody was holding me hostage, but I held myself in a golden cage of fear and self-judgment, living someone else's life. Dr. Edith Eger, a survivor of the Holocaust, famously wrote that the greatest prison you'll ever live inside is the one you create in your mind. The golden cage can look different for everyone. It could be a relationship, a belief, or a role that you've outgrown. And this went on for years until I finally got the courage to open up and talk about how I was feeling. And the first change that came was the most painful and difficult, and that was the end of my marriage. And then, as a single parent going through a divorce, it seemed even more unrealistic and difficult to think about leaving my job as well. Until one day, when I was telling my 3-year-old son, Jamie, that the au pair who'd been helping to mind him for the last 18 months was leaving, I expected him to be upset, but instead his face lit up and he asked, "Does that mean we get mummy all the time?" In that moment, I realised a lot of things. And one of those things was that if I worked for myself, I could have the freedom to be with the children all the time after school. And my daughter Ellie reinforced this when I asked her what she wanted for her 6th birthday. And she said, "Just time with you, Mummy." Even if I wasn't brave enough to leave for myself, my children gave me the courage and conviction I needed to change my life to the one that my soul already knew I needed, but my judgmental ego and mind didn't want me to have. And once I'd made these decisions, it was like a weight was lifted from my shoulders. It was terrifying and exciting at the same time, and harder than I ever imagined. But I was humbled by how much help and support I received from my family and friends, and how little I was judged after all. I can honestly say that I had never known true happiness or fulfillment before I gave myself permission to follow my heart. I was always stuck in my head, worrying about what other people might think, and judging my life success by the achievements that I had. And when my grandmother was dying, I asked her, did she have any regrets? And she said, without hesitation, she had one. And that it was she cared too much about what other people thought. Now, I judge my life by how happy I feel each day and how much I have to be grateful for and how much fun the children and I have had. And it's not by any means a glamorous life that would impress or suit most people, but that's the whole point. It's right for me and my family, and that's all that matters. And I know that not everyone has the privilege or the freedom to make the changes that I did, and I don't take that lightly. But I do believe that the first change is an internal one, and it can be as small as how we see and experience our life, just having a different shift in how we see that before anything ever has to change on the outside. So before I go, I want to ask you something, and I mean to each of you individually, not collectively. What does your heart desire? And if no one were judging you, especially yourself, who would you be? Thank you.